Welcome to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. I'm your host, Fabian motherfucking Ojeda, and I don't know shit, but that's okay. All right, let's get this shit started. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. Hope you all enjoyed the previous episode with Zach Arnold, the Great Impression. He's definitely all in on that. Hope to see good things out of him and hear from him later. But I'm back today with a brand new guest. Want to welcome to the podcast for the very first time, Miss Nicole Shiflett. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Where are you joining us from today?
I am in Virginia right now, originally from Denver.
And so that's interesting because that's one of my questions right off the bat was like Virginia, and you want to be an actress, right?
Yes.
And typically when people think of like, oh, entertainment, acting, things like that, I don't know if it's the case anymore, but you would always hear like, oh, they're going to Hollywood, right? And so how big is, the whole entertainment and acting world in Virginia right now?
It's pretty good. I've got some local stuff coming up. My daughter did something down in North Carolina. There's stuff coming up. I'll be traveling to New York soon, at the end of this month, and then again next year to film. There's stuff in Florida, South Carolina, Georgia. So there's stuff all up and down the East Coast, which is awesome because everything's so close ish. I mean, yeah, it's reasonable.
Yeah, so it's doable now, right? I think that's kind of like an old, like passe type of thing to be like, oh, Hollywood, because don't move over here. You don't want to go through all that right now, right? I mean,
yeah. And I've been out there when I was younger for a talent convention, and the hustle and bustle of Hollywood was definitely intimidating. And, my brother, he doesn't live in Hollywood, but he lives out there in California. We got the best of both worlds. We got both coasts in our family.
There you go. But, for purposes of not wanting to sell your soul and kidneys for a mortgage, I think you'll be fine over there. So
yes.
Yeah,
inflation's awful.
I mean, I still have all my original parts, but unfortunately, I did sell my soul to live over here. So I'll be staying here for the rest of my life. But
yeah.
So talk me through, how did you get to this point? Is this something you wanted to always do when you were like a kid? You always wanted to be in like movies and things like that, or was it more just the whole, because I know you've done like some plays and things like that as well, right?
Yes. So yeah, I definitely started when I was younger. I grew up in the dance community and kind of branched out from there, started doing theater in grade school, and I did, it all started. I'm such a Disney kid still to this day. But yeah, so it started with Disney Channel. I was like, I want to be Lizzie McGuire. I want to be on a show. I want to be in movies on Disney. And then Harry Potter came out, and that's what really grabbed me. I was like, one day I'm going to be in Harry Potter. And now they're doing a reboot, and I'm like, now is my chance. But yeah, so I mean, I just always loved the idea of filmmaking. Being an actress obviously was like the main goal when I was younger. Now I'm like, yes, I want to be an actress, but I'm so interested in what producers are doing, what the camera crew's doing, lighting, and I want to learn all the parts and just, but acting definitely is my main focus.
And so how did you get to this point? Is that, is this something you want to like pursue full time? Are you kind of like, doing the weekend warrior thing with it? What's it look like right now?
It's a chaotic schedule over here. Yeah. So when I was little, of course, wanted to do it full time, wanted to, be in big films by Hollywood. And then I took some time off and, started a family, moved out here to Virginia, and kind of got lost with myself. Like I was doing dental out in Colorado, and I bartended for like 13 years, and I came out here and I was like, that's not what I want to do anymore. I still love dental. It's such a cool field. It's kind of toxic too, but but yeah, I kind of was just it's been a year and I've been trying to refine myself. Like, what do I love? What's my purpose? What's my passion? And one day I kind of woke up and was like, I want to be acting again. I'm a preschool teacher now, and I do so many weird and goofy voices and just things with them. And my favorite is introducing them to musicals. But yeah, I just woke up and I was like, I do all this cool stuff with my preschoolers. That why can't I just re-spark that love and passion that I had for acting back then? Because I'm an adult now. I can do what I want. I don't need a parent or guardian to sign for me. So yeah, I just made the leap and been doing so many auditions, and I've landed 4 roles out of it. So
Nice.
so yeah, it's been a fun journey. It was really it's really fun reinventing myself and bringing out that kid in me.
It's interesting that you pointed out, like, hey, I'm able to use my other experiences and tie it into this because, you know, you mentioned being a preschool teacher. I worked directly with kids like for a very long time, but at the same time, you know, my pretty much my only other job was being a bouncer, right? And people are
Yeah.
like, oh, that's 2 different worlds. So, you know, you never would expect you to do, you know, both at the same time. I'm like, well, I can use one skill and transfer it to another, actually. You know, and I remember learning, you know, how to deal with like classroom management and things like that. I'm like, I could use that with the drunks, right? I'm
Yeah.
like, you know, when you're trying to tell them, you know, help me explain how blah 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 blah, right? So it's like having those disciplined conversations with the kids. I'm like, hey, that helped me with the, you know, with the people I had to kick out of the bar and stuff like that. So you can always use whatever skills, you know, from you learn from one place and transfer them to another. Now, you know, you mentioned kind of like chasing the dream, right? You're like, hey, I got into, you know, bartending, I got into, you know, teaching and things like that. And so, you know, a lot of people might tell you like, hey, stick with the stable job, right? Like, don't be chasing that pipe dream, you know. And I hear a lot of that, right? And some people decide, no, fuck this, I'm going for it, right? And other people just like, you know
Yeah.
what, you're right. Let me stick with what you know, what's paying the bills right now. What do you
Yeah.
feel about that? You know, because and have you heard that from people?
Yeah, yeah, no, as I interview for jobs, you know, they're like, well, why weren't you here this long? Why weren't you there that long? Mainly because of toxicity within like dental offices. But like moving from restaurant to restaurant, bartending, all that stuff, it's like I'm not one to be complacent. I like exploring new things and meeting new people and having different experiences, and part of my ADHD superpower, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
um I think too it's okay to have that solid 9 to 5 that you've been working for like 15, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's because at one point I really, really wanted that. I was like, I just want to find a home where I don't have to change jobs, where I'm not getting bored, where I'm not getting tired, and that I love what I do. But that's just not me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great for some people. It's great for, and it's not great for other people. And yeah, definitely one of those. So I like bouncing around, and acting. The fun part of acting is it can take you 3 months to film a film or a week or whatever, but you're that character for however long, and then you're done, and then it's on to the next, and you get to be somebody different, have a new experience, and have a new attitude, have a new personality, and then on to the next and on to the next. And I think that really suits my personality and the way I move in life.
Yeah. And two, it's like how you fill your cup. You know, it's like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of creative people, you know, they do kind of just let those dreams just, you know, slip by on the side, right? Like I feel like you know, I'm not super what do you call it? You know, talented or something when it comes to music. He was really passionate about it at one point, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to kind of maybe pursue that very young out of high school and things like that. But then I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this real world just kind of like beating you down. You got to have some money. you know, and so I think it's, you know, when you're really passionate about creative things, um, making a living and things like that, it takes a while, just like you mentioned, you know, you might be working on something for a very long time and whatnot. So you got to really be patient with it, right? And see
Hmm.
if there's a payoff or not, you know, because me, I just jumped into like, all right, I need to start making
Yeah.
some money. Let me just, you know, maybe I'll play, you know, in a band again someday, but I can't right now. And even to this point now where I haven't done any sort of music in quite a while, I'm just like, damn, something a little bit, you know, a little part's missing. I feel like, again, like you got to fill that cup a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely, definitely. One thing I've learned is you have to fill your cup in order to fill somebody else's cup. Um, and actually, that was I forget who was on it, but it was one of Oprah's interviews, and she was talking about filling your cup before you
Mhm.
can fill anybody else's. And I think that's a huge thing in this industry, whether it's music or just the entertainment industry, really.
Mhm.
You have to be your own biggest fan, and you
Yeah.
have to be proud of what you're doing, and you really have to just let your creativity flow, like no matter how bad it is, like especially auditions that I've done, like I'll send them out and I'm like, man, that was awful, that was horrible.
Uh-huh.
They're not even gonna, they'll probably make memes out of it because it was that bad.
Oh yeah.
But at least I can sit back and say I did it.
Mhm.
This is even had I not gotten any roles, I'd still be happy that I am doing this for me. I'm
Mhm.
doing this for the long lost child in me,
Mhm.
like making her proud. So,
Yeah.
and that's what this is all about. And I think everybody should really
Yeah.
just find that inner child, that inner
Yeah.
love.
Exactly. Do what you wanted to do when you were little. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Try it
Mm-hmm.
out at least, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned recently, like actually getting some work, right? Is that anything you could talk about right now, or shed some light on? I know sometimes you got to keep it like, you know, a little secret or whatnot. But is there anything you could talk about as far as those roles that you just landed?
There are two that I have to keep under wraps, unfortunately, for you guys, but I'm so excited for when they're done. One will be releasing in 2025, so it'll be a little while before we can talk about that. I can tell you that is a feature film. Uh, there's another feature film that is in the works too, that is under wraps as well.
Mhm.
But this week I am going out to Virginia Beach area to film. I think yes, an indie feature film. So three feature films right now,
Mhm.
um, and that one I will be playing an attorney in. Um, it's it's called Sunflower Facade.
Mhm.
So keep an eye out for that. That should be coming out next year as well. And then I will be filming again in Virginia Beach area,
Mhm.
a Batman fan series, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I'll be Talia al Ghul in, I believe, a couple episodes. We've got a couple days of filming, so I'm really excited. It might just be one episode, but how we have it spliced is interesting.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, keep an eye out for that. Now,
Hmm.
you know, the cool thing about, you know, entertainment these days is there's so many avenues, right? And so there's so many platforms now. I mean, back in the day, you know,
Yeah.
I'll keep kind of like bouncing back and forth and relating
Yeah.
it to like music, right? Back when I
Hmm.
was in when I graduated high school in '04, it's like it was kind of a pipe dream to you know, get onto like radio or something like that because it would be so hard. You know, it'd be like, how do we even, you know, go through that door, right? How do you even knock on that door? And
Hmm.
so now, you know, something like music, right? If you wanted to get into it, you do your own little SoundCloud thing. You could do your own Spotify, YouTube, whatever, and people will
Hmm.
find you. You know, here
Yeah.
now with the acting and stuff like that, right? I know some
Hmm.
people that have put their own Amazon movies out there, right? Or you know,
Yeah.
gotten onto like Fubu or Fubu is called, I don't know, but something like, you know, those different. Everything's like Ubu, Ubu, Ulu, right? Everything sounds like an
Oh,
African
like
language now.
to
Yeah,
be.
there you go. Yeah.
That's the main one right now for independent films. Yeah.
Okay, maybe it was
But
that
yeah.
one. I don't know. Like I'm over here making up an African language, right? Ulu upu ubu, right? No.
I
Um,
wouldn't be surprised if another streaming one came out named that. So
oh,
it's
shit.
fair.
Well, there I go. I got to copyright it now. But there's just so many places now, right, where you can, use that platform and get onto, TV
Hmm.
or movies or things like that. And it's not
Hmm.
so hard, right?
No.
So, what are your thoughts on that and how that's kind of, progressed through time and, how much more accessible it is?
Yeah, it's so interesting because yes, when I was younger, we would have to fly out to Hollywood or um the agency I was with, they would call you in and you'd go to this warehouse and you would have to do these in-person auditions. And you're like, I mean, it's a lot like theater. So of course you're nervous when you audition for theater, but it's live and it's in front of producers and directors and this and that. And you only get one shot.
Hmm.
And I fudged it up a lot when I was a kid. So now I feel like you can bring out the confidence in you because auditioning, it's all through Zoom. It's
Mm.
um a lot of it's self-tape. So yes, if I wanted to audition for a Warner Brothers movie, all I would have to do, I can sit here and do like 10, 15 takes until I feel confident enough to send it out, or I pick one of those takes
Hmm.
and my best one goes out. So I get multiple chances.
Hmm.
Now, callbacks are different because they're still doing live Zooms. So then that's when you get your one chance. But yeah, and now all these independent filmmakers with the strike going on, it's great for them. They're getting the actors that they want.
Hmm.
They're starting to get writers and producers and directors and stuff like that on to their projects to back them up, and they just put it up on Tubi
Yeah. Right.
or wherever, yeah, wherever it's easiest. So
Mhm.
it's 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 amazing. I'm a little indifferent about it because I do miss those days of going in and
Right.
embarrassing yourself. And now there are a lot of jobs that still will do that, but I mean it's amazing, but it also takes away just how we've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, it's changing for sure, right?
Yeah.
But that's interesting that you mentioned kind of like the whole, sending in your own audition and things like that. I've talked to a few other
Mhm.
people who've been into, acting and things like that, and they mentioned the same thing, and I'm just like, really? I get it during the
Yeah.
pandemic, right? Like,
Yeah.
couldn't really do anything, but to know that that's still a practice that's going on, it's kind of interesting. I mean, how you mentioned it, it's like, okay, you can really kind of set yourself up to where nerves don't overtake you, right?
Hmm.
Where
Hmm.
it's like, okay, now you can really showcase what you can do. You get a chance to kind of just settle down, maybe, fine tune it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I never thought about that, right? It's kind of like test takers where some people, they're really good at studying and they can make a great, report or something like that. But when it comes to taking a test, they completely screw it up, right?
Yeah.
And so that,
Me.
see, I'm the opposite. I'm a great test taker and I hate studying,
Horrible.
right?
Yeah.
Um, but that's really interesting. I never thought of about that, and how I'm thinking about now. Dang, how many like really serious actors could we have, missed out on because they weren't great like test takers. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it is what it is, and this is where we're
I
at
like that
now.
analogy. I like that
Yeah,
analogy a lot. Yeah.
that's what it made me think of immediately. I'm like, okay, that sounds like test taking. Um,
Yeah.
you did mention, the pandemic and everything, and that kind of
Hmm.
changed things.
Hmm.
And so again, I'm gonna go back to like, hey, if I'm a friend, a family member, I'm probably asking you like, what are you thinking, right? You're getting into this whole, acting thing, and there was a pandemic, and it's not something that's secure, but also there's a strike right now,
I
right?
know.
And so, if I'm a close friend or family member, I'm probably asking you like, what are you doing? I get it. And
Hmm.
now you
Hmm.
and I get it. Hey,
Yeah.
we're having a conversation about it, but do you get those reactions or anything like that? Or have you thought personally, like, what am I doing right now?
Yes. Um, so I totally forgot about the strike when I started looking into getting into this. And it didn't even phase me. And then after getting into my first workshop, I was like, oh yeah, the strike is going
Uh-huh.
on. So yeah, I'm a little bit crazy for doing this, but at the same time, I'm not, because there's so many student films out there. There's commercials, there's stuff that you can do outside of SAG
Hmm.
that allows you to, just get experience for one. So a lot of those are unpaid
Hmm.
roles, which is fine because it's the fun of it.
Hmm.
But then there are also paid roles for like the feature films and stuff like that that these directors want to start taking to like film festivals.
Right.
So that's a bonus. It's, and again, it's just really to kind of get my feet wet.
Right.
So when I get to that point that I will be seeing you in Hollywood, then I'll have that experience under my belt
Hmm.
when the strike's over.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon. Oh my gosh, hopefully soon.
And I mean, that's kind of crazy, right? Like everything that's going on with that right now, where I can't believe, somebody like, what's his name? The guy that played Jesse Pinkman on Breaking Bad, he only made a few pennies like for Netflix residuals. I'm like, what the hell? Like, that's one of the
Yeah,
biggest shows that,
right?
it wasn't their show per se, but I mean,
Hmm.
when people watched it, they watched it on Netflix, right?
I
For the
think
most
that's where I watched it
for the
too.
most part, yeah. I mean, I know it
Yeah.
was an AMC thing, but for the most
Uh-huh.
part, people watched it on Netflix, right? And so to think
Yeah.
that he only made pennies off of those
Hmm.
residuals, that's just like it should be illegal.
Yeah, that breaks my heart for them. When the strike first started, before I was doing acting or before I like got back into it, I was like, man, they make so much money anyway. But then understanding more about it and following the strike, yes, it makes sense that they are getting just absolutely cheated
Hmm.
out of what they deserve.
Hmm.
So, but maybe they're basing off white watch time too, because if I'm binging Breaking Bad, I can get through that pretty quick if I have a couple days off.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
like, yeah, no, it's there's so much information out there that I still kind of get lost in all of it.
I do too. A lot of it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I just know that a lot of it sounds like, dang, okay, the actors, and especially the ones that aren't, necessarily famous, right? They just work a
Mm-hmm.
lot. They're
Yeah.
really kind of getting screwed. It's like, um,
Mm-hmm.
I get it. You decide what industry you want to work in and things like that. So, some people are, oh, I have no pity for them kind of thing. It's like, but they're just trying to have a job like everybody else,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's not just
Definitely with that.
actors though. It's also,
The
the
writers.
caterers, the makeup
Mm-hmm.
artists,
Mm-hmm.
everybody that's involved with, making some sort of entertainment for us, so it's really
Yeah.
it's a bigger thing than I can really understand right now, but I just know
Mm-hmm.
that, hey, at its basic, I know it's not fair.
Yes, yes, for sure. Yeah, because you've got all the writers that are joining in now too, that or well, they've been part of it.
Mhm.
Sorry, not joining in now. But you're hearing more about how much they're making, like with selling this stuff to the big corporations
Mhm.
or the big production companies, and they get nothing.
Mhm.
Or they change the whole thing. They get nothing, and then they change the whole thing, and it's not even their own work. But
Yeah.
and yeah, there's just so much information out there um, that it's like you're back and forth. You're like, oh no, they'll be okay, but then you're like, oh no, 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 like this is absolutely unfair. So
Mhm.
yeah,
And so
it's,
currently you're not union, right?
no, no,
Eh, Okay, so and that's something that's, probably kind of in the back of your head, right? Where it's like, I want to get to that point, but I
yeah,
maybe don't know enough about it just yet because, I'm still,
hmm,
like you mentioned, you're still getting your feet wet and whatnot.
yeah. It was brought to my attention. I want to say earlier this week, maybe last week, that I should join SAG. And I looked up the information and I was like, why don't like I need some clarification on joining it, but at the same time, I'm like, why am I even looking into this right now? There's a strike going on. Like, let me just have fun and help the independent like filmmakers make something good or make something fun or whatever their end all goal is, because my end all goal is with the independent films right now. If they just want it to stay on YouTube, sure, why not? Let's have fun on YouTube. If they want to take it to film festivals, let's get it to that film festival. And I kind of relate this to small businesses. Like, support your small businesses, your local businesses, support your small directors and your local directors, your independent directors, your independent films and stuff, because there's so many good ideas out there that Hollywood turns down daily. And you never get to see it. So one of the directors I'll be working on, he made a movie, A Grim Becoming, and my husband and I watched it. So this is on Tubi too. I suggest everybody who has a dark sense of humor watch it. It is lighthearted, but it's really funny. It's really grim as well. But I mean, it was like the plot, the story, the characters were so good. But when is Hollywood ever going to produce something like that? But at least we get to see someone's creative mind come to life, and I that's what I love so much about independent films, is there's just so many good ideas out there.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that you mentioned that, because sometimes it does get kind of formulaic, right? You can already figure out the plot within like, the first few minutes. I'm like, I already know who. Like, if it's a mystery, I already know
the Christmas movies, right?
Or
that too.
Christmas movies. Yeah, that too. Right. So it's like you can already kind of figure it out, right? Everything is like, it's like, okay, I know what's going to happen here. I know what's going to happen here. I know what's going to happen here. I like kind of those, out of nowhere, movies where they kind of change things up, and it's kind of like, it's weird in a way. I like the weird stuff sometimes too. So yeah, I do. Every now and then I do kind of browse through like, Tubi or like Amazon. Like, what kind of weird shit's on here? Let me see what I can get into.
Yeah.
Right? And that's okay. Like I think there's market for that as well. That's why, again, so many platforms, right? You're bound to, catch somebody's eye, right? I mean, for example, people like watching all kinds of, things that I would find honestly boring on YouTube, right? I mean, we entertain ourselves by even just watching each other eat in the car, like I kind of bring that up a lot. I'm like, how have we gotten to this point, right? Where we're sitting on our phones watching some stranger eat Burger King in his car and giving it like a rating. You know what I'm saying?
Or even giving you like a motivational speech, like, you're beautiful. Let me eat this burger really quick.
That too.
Deserve to be loved.
And then they have like the cheesy, piano music in the background and everything. Yes. I'm like I would never find this interesting, but it's got millions of plays. It's like, we find ways to entertain ourselves and stuff like that. So there's definitely a platform for something that somebody has written and worked on. So that's that. There's always that, and I think it's only going to get bigger. So
we'll see how that goes. And I think that too is amazing. So yes, I do. Like I said before, I do miss like going into a room and auditioning, and that's nowadays you really only see that when you are going into audition for a theater piece. But I mean, I miss that. But now in this day, you get to see everybody, and like you said, like how much undiscovered talent is out there. Like, who's going to be our next Jennifer Aniston? Not saying you can replace these actors, because I love them so much, but like, there's somebody out there that would have never thought of doing this before because they had to travel to Hollywood, or they had to go someplace to audition, and they had to spend hundreds of dollars for a hotel, for a flight. If it's international, like, that's even more. And you come home, you stress it, you sweat it for like a month or two, and then you finally get that email or that phone call that says, we're going in a different direction. Thank you for visiting. And you're like, ugh. So now it's like, I can sit in this nice little wingback chair and I can do my auditions in the comfort of my home without spending all that money. And it's amazing how things are being done, but now everybody has that chance to just send out their auditions for a casting call.
And you know what's interesting though, and as you mentioned that, you don't even have to send out auditions sometimes, because I'll watch
Yeah.
like these guys on Instagram and stuff like that where it's, oh, they're kind of funny, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and you watch
Mm-hmm.
their little short videos. I guess it's like
Mm-hmm.
originally like on TikTok and stuff, right? And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're doing their little short videos or reels, whatever the hell you call them nowadays. And a lot of people watch those, and all of a sudden, you know, you start watching those videos and you see that those people get signed to talent agencies.
Yep.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, like I think there was one that's he's a Hispanic guy. He's kind of funny. He's like Leo, I think like Leo Gonzalez or something like that, right?
Okay.
And he does these videos where he does like you know, impressions and things like that of real life situations, right? He might pretend to be like a phone salesman or something like that and act like them, right? And this is
Okay.
something that he does all on his own, and
Yeah.
there's no production value or anything like that.
Yeah.
And you know, those are TikTok videos, and all of a sudden he's on, you know, one of the more successful Hulu comedies. What's it called? That Fool or This Fool, it's something like that. But it's a comedy show, and it's a
Okay.
pretty big show now, right? And he got on there without any acting experience. You know,
Yeah.
he got signed to, you know, a talent agency just based off of his TikToks. You know,
Yeah.
so, I mean,
I
how big are you into, you know, social media and things like that? And that's like an avenue you're willing to try.
yes. I guess I need to start making content. I guess that's my problem is because my cameraman, aka my husband, don't tell him I said this. Um, he's not the greatest when it comes to taking pictures and stuff. I'm like, get this angle. I gotta get this angle. Hold on,
Uh-huh.
hold that pose. Like, let's like I'll be like the director. I'm like, you do this, you say this, and then we'll film it.
Mhm.
And then my husband, I'm like, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Now you have to film it. And then he just stands there like, and I'm like, no, you got to move with me and like get the angle. Never
Mhm.
mind, I'll do it myself.
Right.
Um, no, but yeah, that's something I've wanted to do was branch out more with making reels or I don't even know how to use TikTok. My 10-year-old does, but
Uh-huh.
every time I ask her, she's like, ew, cringe. So, I'm cringe.
Man,
Excuse
this generation doesn't
me.
even use the word right. Cringe,
Man.
it's not a descriptive word. It's a verb, right? I cringed. That is the
Yes.
correct way to use it. But go on. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. I totally get it. I'm like, do they even know English nowadays?
Uh,
But yeah, so social media, but yeah, I see all these comedians that just see them like scrolling through Facebook and whatnot. I know I'm that old. I still use Facebook. But yeah, you just scroll through and you start liking a video, then more of their stuff pops up. And then it's like a month or two later, they're on a comedy tour. And I was like,
mhm.
wait a minute, you just started like a month ago or something. So it is pretty impressive how I hate the word influencers.
Right,
Um,
right.
that's cringe.
Uh,
No, I hate how they no, I don't hate. I'm
I'm like,
impressed with how
go,
much.
go with your intrusive thoughts there, Nicole. It's all right.
I'm trying to. I distracted my own self and lost my train of thought.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, like influencers just get picked up left and right for different stuff.
mhm.
So
you,
it's
you,
crazy.
you see, I think I don't know, you know, I'm not gonna ask because it's rude to ask how old you are, but I mean, I don't know. I think we're probably from like at least similar, you know, age group, right? And so
Yeah.
when we were growing up, there was no, you know, pathway for somebody who's there wasn't even an influencer. There's nobody knew what an influencer was,
No, so what is that?
right?
Like I had Lizzie McGuire. She was my influencer,
Uh-huh. Right. She influenced you,
right?
right? And so, but now the thing with that is that, you know, I too feel the same way sometimes. Like I'm kind of a hater, you know, I'm like a hater. I'm like, I don't like that, you know, and I don't get it. But it now has become, you know, a legitimate way of making a living or making money. Um,
Hmm.
and we just don't get it because we don't know how to kind of breach that barrier, you know.
Right.
There, like, there's people who I thought it was just bullshit, but like they make money off of like sponsorships or like promoting products and things like that. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
right. And I'm like, oh, I guess you kind of do make money off of that, you know? But
Yeah.
same thing, you know, they could like we've been talking about, you know, for a few minutes now, they could just make some quick, you know, 20-30 second videos, make a whole bunch of them, and then you know, they garner a following fairly quickly, and then all of a
Hmm.
sudden they're a success story, you know, like when I was working directly with kids in school and everything, and you know, some of them started saying like, "Oh yeah, when I'm older, I want to be a YouTuber," kind of thing. I'm like,
I was thinking that as we were talking, at my daughter's, actually at any kindergarten graduation that you go to nowadays, they like
mm-hmm,
do the slideshow when I grow up, and they're all in their cap and gown holding their when I grow up I want to be sign.
mm-hmm,
So yeah, nowadays you see I want to be a TikToker, I want to be an influencer, I want to be a YouTube makeup artist, like,
mm-hmm,
and I'm sitting there, I'm like, and I went to college for what?
right,
Wait,
mm-hmm.
can I do that now?
Yeah, and it's kind of like it's a fine line because you want people to have real skills, but these
Yeah,
have become the skills, you
I
know.
know.
And I'm like, I try to pull the good out of it. I'm like, okay, cool. They know how to, you know, splice things up and
Mhm.
put videos together. They know production, right?
Yeah, how do I do that? No, the kids won't teach me because I'm cringe.
Yeah,
Like,
right. Yeah.
I just want to learn.
Uh-huh. Like people tell me all the time, you know, I love cooking, right? And they're like, "Oh,
Hmm.
you should put like some, you know, cooking videos online." I'm like, "Why the fuck am I going to do that? Like I just want to cook." You know, I might take a picture of it afterwards and be like, "Here we
Right.
go." But I'm not going
Oh,
to, you
we're
know,
past that. We're past just taking pictures and posting it on Instagram. Now you got to TikTok it.
mhm, or else nobody's interested, right?
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how to do that. And I don't have a desire to stand there and be like, let me get the angles right on this brisket, right? Make sure that I'm slicing
Right.
it correctly. Ooh, let's see if I can get, you know, just the right light so the juice, you know,
I
flows
know.
out
Make
kind of
sure
thing.
that juice comes out
Mhm.
in the
Yes.
right lighting.
And like, I would love to appease people and be like, here you go. Let's, you know, watch my cooking videos. But I don't have the energy or want to do that. You know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of feel like we're a little bit of boomers right now. Like those kids nowadays have it so easy.
Yeah, we're shaking our fist at the cloud now, right? You know, I guess I'm a millennial. I don't like admitting it, you know,
Yeah,
but
I'm right there with you.
yeah, but I think we're becoming the new shaking our fists at the cloud people, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah. I
bound to
mean,
happen.
I, that's just how the world works. As more generations come in, the easier it's going to get for them, especially with the more technology that we're pushing out and stuff like that. So it's like it's it's a radical acceptance at the slightest because I'm not ready to accept that. I'm like, no, you guys still need to work hard like me.
Yeah, I mean, it looks different now, I guess. But
Yeah.
wanted to really quickly get back to some of the the acting stuff, and I want to ask real quick, you know, just some questions as far as like influence, right? So speaking of
Yeah.
influencers, right, you mentioned like Lizzie McGuire and whatnot, but who are some of your, you know, your biggest influences? Like, who do you want to kind of almost like be like, or you know, who really kind of got you into this dream of wanting to act?
um So, the 90s was the prime and early 2000s for Disney. So, all of that was really my inspiration to get into it. And again, with Harry Potter, just the whole
Right.
fantasy world, Lord of the Rings, really into fantasy. And I was like, I want to be in front of a green screen and touch a dragon. That's that really sparked my interest. I will say, as far as actors go, Jim Carrey
Oh,
is one of my favorites. I'm a sucker for slapstick comedy.
mhm.
The Wayans brothers. Oh my gosh,
Oh yeah.
we saw Sean live at a stand up not too long ago. Oh my gosh, I was in tears the whole night. Amazing. Um, but yeah, Adam Sandler,
Mhm.
all of the not Billy Madison, the Happy Madison productions.
Yeah.
Like I love all that. Uh, and again, Jim Carrey, like I usually get asked like what would my dream role be? And I kind of had to rethink it because I was like, I can't keep saying the same thing.
Hmm.
I've always wanted to play a villain. I've got two in the books right now. So it's like, okay, that was right off the bat into this
Hmm.
career. So villains, check. But I would love to do comedy. I would love to do a rom-com,
Mm.
a slapstick. It just I those that's my happy place.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So Jim Carrey, obviously, with his goofiness and his faces and his characters and just different roles going from a serious to happy. Liar Liar is one of the greatest
Oh yeah.
in my books. So that really inspired me. And again, Adam Sandler, his different characters, even though it was a total flop, Hubie Halloween is, I mean, it's so dumb, it's funny.
Hmm.
Ben Schneider, Bill, wow, why am I blanking on his
Oh yeah, yeah,
name? Is
I
it
know.
Ben?
Rob
Bill?
Schneider. Rob
Rob
Schneider.
Schneider.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm
Uh,
so sorry.
uh-huh.
But no, he's amazing too. In the Hot Chick and
Uh-huh.
the Animal and the
This
Gigolo
big, this
movies.
Bigelow, yeah. Okay, so cool. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
This is like the greatest time for, that kind of comedy. I think like, one
Hmm.
that's really one of my favorites of all time, Kingpin, underrated movie. That's with Woody Harrelson and what's his name?
Okay.
Uh um one of the Quaid brothers, with the goofy one. I think it's him. Anyway,
The
but
Wayans, you
no,
said?
no, 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 no. One of
Oh,
the
Wade.
Quaid brothers, I think. But
Quaid. Oh,
Kingpin.
okay.
It's about, okay. You probably have seen it.
I
It's
I
about
may have.
somebody who was like a really good bowler in the 70s, right? And then he gets his hand chopped off because he's a hustler. And now he's like a just a piece of crap that lives in like a horrible apartment. He's broke, always trying to hustle people still. If you haven't
Okay.
seen it, you've got to watch it. But it's one of the greatest 90s comedies in my opinion. Kingpin.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've probably passed by it on the
Uh-huh.
streaming
Oh,
services, but I don't know if
also
I've actually seen it.
Bill Murray is in it. So yeah,
Okay. Okay. If it's got Bill Murray. See, and
yeah,
he's another great at.
yeah, and I think that was like one of the best movies because it's got so much in it, and it's all the one-liners and everything. It's one of the best comedies. But I'm right there with you as far as like Jim Carrey and Adam Sandler. I think uh, Jim Carrey, like you mentioned, he's got so much range, and people don't realize it, right?
Hmm.
Even in something like Liar Liar, if you like sappy movies, hey, it's a little sappy at times, right? You like that
Yeah.
physical comedy, it's got that physical comedy, right? And it's got a, pretty easy to digest plot and everything like that. So
Hmm.
those movies I think were really great. Interesting. I was able to actually interview one of the writers of Dumb and Dumber recently,
Oh,
and that was a really
love
interesting
that
one.
movie.
So he worked with Jim Carrey on that. And he
Yeah.
got some interesting tidbits on that. But as far as I'm gonna ask you real quick, just off the top of your head, a question here with the Adam Sandler top three Adam Sandler movies in your opinion.
Oh, okay. They might be out of order, but Billy Madison.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's got
Big Daddy's up there.
all right.
I like
Okay.
that one. I like that one. Man, I was gonna say for my kids, we really like bedtime stories.
Okay.
And the more you
Different.
watch it, like the cuter it gets.
Uh.
We also have guinea pigs, so it's
Uh.
cute. And I was gonna say Eight Crazy Nights.
Yeah.
There's so much.
See, I mean,
Okay.
for me, it's not
Okay.
even tough. The two that I'm going to put in here, right?
Okay.
And then I always struggle with the third, But for sure, Wedding Singer is right up there.
Ah, yes.
Wedding Singer is one of those where I'm
Yes.
just like, I can watch that no matter what. If I see
Hmm.
that it's on like live or something like that, I'm stopping what I'm doing and watching it. Just I think it's a great movie. I think it's
Hmm.
timeless too. And then the other was actually for me the Water Boy. That was really easy.
Oh yeah. See, there's so many out there. And
Yeah.
he was even in The Hot Chick. And he had this role. He's my favorite role, I think, of Adam Sandler, where
Uh-huh.
he's like banging on the drums. He's a stoner. And he's
Uh-huh.
like, I didn't know you could hear that.
And I think too the third one that for me I struggle between is it Billy Madison or Happy Gilmore, right?
Yeah.
Because they were both like around the same time. They had that
Hmm.
same kind of humor. But I would probably go with Happy Gilmore, right? I think I watched that one more than Billy Madison, and I don't know. I just like it a little bit better. Again, uh, where Billy Madison is kind of like really really silly. I think you kind of root for him a little more in Happy Gilmore. Oh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because, yeah, Billy Madison, it's centered around rich, egotistical
Uh-huh.
a-holes. But no,
Yeah.
I'm that kid. You walk into my class and I'm sitting on the floor with all the kids, and they're like, "Where's Nicole? Where's she
Uh,
going?" I'm like, "I'm down here." So I'm that Adam Sandler sitting on the
right,
carpet with the kids.
right. Very cool, very cool. So I wanted to see, if you want to share, where can people find you, right? Where can they find you? Get some updates about what you're up to and things like that.
Yes. So I do have a website. It's NicoleShiflett.com. I'm trying to stay on top of it and update it frequently. So that is most updated as of yesterday. And Instagram, it's at nshiflett 007. Yes. I'm a
All right.
Bond
I
girl.
was gonna ask, right? Is that Bond inspired?
Bond and again, not to give away my age, but my graduation year.
I mean, it's never too late to start, but that's still young.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I still feel like a kid, so that's
Hmm.
that's the important thing.
Hmm. I'm like, because that makes me 3 years older than you, and so if you're old, then I'm old.
But we're not. I've been told not to give away my age,
Right? No, no, yes.
but I'm like, you know what? Like I don't feel my age. And and I'm not ashamed of it.
Hmm.
Like women are like, oh, like when you said, oh, it's rude to ask how old
Yeah.
you are. I'm like, but it's not. I don't get offended by it. I'm like, yeah, I'm this age, but
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah. Anyway, but
I just say I'm not old. I'm like well seasoned like a goddamn curly fry, right?
cheers to that. Ooh, I
That's
love curly
that's
fries.
that's what it is. One of those Arby's curly fries or something. I don't know.
Mm, mm-hmm. Now I'm
But
hungry.
yeah, yeah, right, right. But is there anything else you want to throw out there to the podcast world before we get out of here?
um, yeah, just stay true to yourself and have fun and find your passion and go with it. Keep going with it. Keep pushing.
Hmm. That's guys some good advice right there. So
Mhm.
follow those passions. But I want to thank you for being on the podcast, Nicole. I wish you the best of luck. I hope
Thank
to see
you.
some updates. I'm gonna follow that N Shiflett 007 and see what you're up to. But again, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And for everybody listening at home, I appreciate you. Thank you. Fuck you and good night. Subscribe to the Ignorance is Strength podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Like, follow, and share on Facebook and Instagram at Ignorance is Strength Podcast and on Twitter at The Ignorance Pod.